Hello. So it's Sunday afternoon and I figured I would do a nice little side leg Pilates sequence. So to start, I'm going to have you go ahead and come all the way down onto your side. Now we do have options, as always. I like to come all the way down, kind of rest my head here on my bicep. You're welcome to kind of bend your elbow and cradle your head if that feels more comfortable. So that is one option. It's the option I like to do my side legs in. However, some people do prefer to take it up more into a raised position here. The reason I like the lying flat down position is because I can feel my obliques on the underside working a little harder. I tend to kind of lose that oblique connection when I bring myself up. Another thing is that when you come into this lifted up position, we do have a tendency as we get tired to start to drop down into the shoulder. So you want to be very mindful that you're keeping yourself lifted out of that shoulder if you decide to come into that uplifted position. So I'm going to go ahead and take it all the way down. And there's options to either extend the arm long, or if you feel better kind of bending your elbow and cradling, I like to keep the arm straight. Want to draw the abdominals in, so I think about lifting them up off the mat and then pulling them back in towards the spine. And then go ahead and pick up both feet and bring them a little bit into a little bit of a piked position, a little more forward. That's going to let you help kind of bring your top hip back a little bit better. So, and then underneath here, this is what I was talking about, this oblique connection that I feel like I can maintain that better because I can feel when my body starts to drop down towards the mat, okay? So we do want to try to keep that lifted up as best as possible. You can take this top arm. Some people like to rest it at the side. I like to bring it just lightly down to the mat in front, light on the fingertips. You're going to lift the top leg to about hip height. And then I want you to bring that top leg back so that your leg is in alignment with the spine. So I'm not bringing it back behind me, but trying to keep it more into a lengthened position. So I want you to push and lengthen out through that top leg. The goal here is to not let this hip hike up and down as you're doing your leg lift, okay? It's going to move a little bit, but the goal is to keep it as steady as you can, okay? If your mat isn't thick enough and you feel like it's kind of digging into your bottom hip, you could you could kind of double up that mat underneath. It can dig into this kind of greater trochanter and be quite uncomfortable for some people. All right, so abdominals are drawing in nice and tight. Your leg is lifted to about hip height. You're pushing this hip out long. In parallel, no hip rotation. We're going to do 6 leg lifts here. So you're going to inhale as you lift, and as you exhale, you're going to lower the leg back down. Good. Try to lower it back to about hip height. Might lower just a little bit below hip height. That's okay. Again, just mindful here that this hip is not hiking up and down as you go. Good. So I like to inhale as I lift to facilitate lengthening, and exhale as I lower. Feel that power into that kind of glute medius. We're doing hip abduction here, or adduction. All right, let's take it to turn out, external rotation, and continue for 6 and 5. Making sure this top shoulder stays down, and 4 and 3 and 2. Good. Last one. And then, of course, finishing with an internal rotation, really working deep into that glute medius. That's your hip stabilizer. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. We're still trying to stay lifted up underneath that rib cage. If you can, relax that top shoulder and just let your neck relax. Shouldn't be feeling like you've got to hold your head or your neck into any particular position. I think we've got 2 more. We're going to inhale, lift, and exhale, lower. 1 more. Good. Now back to parallel, no hip rotation. Leg is at hip height. Really press the hip out long in case it started to move out of position. We're going to do leg kick forward. So on your inhale, you're going to take that top leg forward, out in front, stretching the hamstring. And then on your exhale, you're going to bring it back. Again, trying to maintain the neutral position in the spine. So we're not changing spine position. This is truly stretching the hamstring, using the hamstring, the glute on the way back. Nice. Let's go for 3 more. Inhaling forward, exhaling back. And last one, whoo, starting to really burn right there at that glute medius. All right, now back to turn out, and we're gonna do small circles. Hip stays really steady, just feel like that femur, that thigh bone circling in the hip socket. Lengthening, lengthening long through the hip. And then reverse for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice. Now from here, you're going to go ahead and you're going to bend both knees. Go mindful here with my bottom knee. Doing this without my brace, which is okay. It's how I need to kind of work and stretch it. And then I want you to kind of roll your top hip a little more forward. Again, we're still lifted up underneath the rib cage and drawing the abdominals in nice and tight. So on your inhale here, I'm going to have you lift that top leg off the bottom. And on your exhale, you're going to lower. Good. So we call these fire hydrants. That might be for obvious reasons. We've got 4 more. Beautiful. Really squeezing into that glute. Really working the hip. 2 more. Lift. And lower. Last one here. Good. All right. Now we're going to take this into a little more internal hip rotation. Lift the top foot off the bottom, and the top leg is going to lengthen out, and you're going to bring it back in. I like to bring that top knee a little in front of the bottom. Lengthen. Nice. Woo. Heating up, heating up. I think we've got 1 more, and then we finish with elevated clam. Nice. With that, feet are together. Now you can have elevated, which would be lifting both feet up. If you prefer, you can keep both feet down, but you're going to open and close. Inhale, open, exhale, close. Still keeping lifted up underneath. Yes, working hard into your obliques, working hard into the glute medius. I believe we've got 1 more, and then a nice, well-deserved stretch. Good. So pull that top knee into your chest. Roll your hip a little bit forward. Just rest the knee down. All right, and then you're going to roll onto your back. And your working leg, you're going to cross that foot, kind of figure 4 stretch, cross it over the opposite knee. And then go ahead and pull that knee in towards the chest. Good. So it's a huge stretch there. I like to kind of reach up and push that working knee out. Kind of changes the stretch a little bit. And if the stretch just feels a little too intense, sometimes it's a good idea to come out of the stretch and then try it again. Sometimes that second time around, it'll let you get a little bit further. Okay. And then while you're holding the stretch, breathe into the stretch. Maybe you can also add stretching the hamstring. Okay, just draw those toes back or keep a natural foot position and breathe. And just last hold. Big breath in and big breath out. Nice. All right, release that, and we're going to take it on to the other side. So again, starting position here, As I said, I like to extend my arm long. This is okay as well, or if you prefer, you can come up to that lifted position. So maybe I'll just do a few with my body in the lifted up position so you can see that option. Definitely want to make sure that that elbow is right underneath the shoulder, abdominals pulling in nice and tight. We're still trying to stay really nice and lifted, active underneath through the obliques, okay? Stay out of the shoulder, so just don't let yourself drop down. Sternum's nice and lifted. All right, so in parallel, here we go. We're gonna inhale as we lift, exhale as we lower. So I oftentimes notice when I lift my upper body, doing the side legs, sometimes my range of motion's just not as high. It's fine. We've got 3 more. Inhale, lift, so I can still feel that connect. Good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stay in the lifted position until I start to feel that I'm losing that connection, and then I'll lower back down. Okay, here we go. Let's take this to turnout. Again, this is my injured knee on this left side, so range of motion is not quite the same as it is on the other side. Might be hesitating just a little bit more because I can feel it pulling, but again, it's all part of what I need to be doing, according to my physical therapist. All right, and then internal rotation. Okay, here we go. This one's tough for me. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. We've got 5 more. Good. I'm really working here hard to stay out of this shoulder. Okay. Good. Let's say 2 more. I didn't actually count, but it should be 6 with each one. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lower all the way back down. Again, resting my head, staying lifted up through those obliques. You're going to keep it at hip height, parallel, no hip rotation. Let's inhale as we take the top leg forward and exhale as we bring it back. Being very, very mindful here. Now what I didn't do when I was in that lifted up position was bring my legs a little more into a piked position. When I bring myself back down, I do want to make that adjustment. Just helps for the balance. And it gives you a little kickstand. Okay, we're going to do 1 more. All right, let's take this to turnout, and we're going to do small circles. Keep the hip really super steady. Feel that femur, the thigh bone, just circling into the hip socket. Hear it making a little bit of noise in there. That's all okay. And then reverse. Stable, stable, stable hip. Moving that femur around into the hip socket. Keep those abdominals engaged. And keep yourself lifted up underneath through those obliques. Beautiful. All right, let's bend both knees. Roll your top hip forward. Lift up underneath. Relaxing the top shoulder. All right, here we go. So this one is, again, the fire hydrant. You're going to kind of keep rolling that hip forward. So with these, if this is feeling like it's more leg work, then I want you to keep shifting your hip forward and put the work deeper into that glute and into the hip, okay? So inhale as you lift and exhale as you lower, keeping the neutral spine position. You can bring your hand back and feel if your back is moving. So if you feel yourself going into more of a arched back position, then you're going to take that range of motion shorter, right? Keep that low back nice and stable. That's that core stabilization. All right, let's go ahead and take it to an internal hip rotation here. We're going to lengthen out. Woo! Feel that in that glute medius. And out. Something I have to strengthen and work just a little bit more as I'm working through this knee issue. All right, we've got 2 more, and out. Feet are cramping up on me. It's usually telling me I probably could use a little more water. Good. All right, and then feet together, elevated clam to finish. Open and close. Squeezing the glute, maintaining the spine position, starting to catch fire there. So we want, ooh, 2 more. Ready for a stretch. Nice. Let's pull that top knee in. Let the hip come forward. Give it a nice stretch out. All right, and then roll onto your back. Cross the foot so you know what you're in for. Same thing as it was on the other side. Big breath in, and then as you breathe out, go ahead and pull the knee in. Nice. You can push that back knee out. Ooh, breathe and relax into the stretch. Nice. And then of course, if you want a little bit more, you can send that top leg straight up and stretch the hamstring. Might take you a little deeper into your figure 4 stretch, your piriformis stretch, stretching the glute medius. Nice. Good. Right, and then go ahead and release that stretch. Okay, side legs on both sides. I hope that was easy to follow. Something that you can easily do every day.